Do you want to know how these pros and high radiants have developed such amazing aim? Well, I'm here to help you realize 4 things outside of aim training that you need to know to aim in Valorant. But before I get into these tips, it's important to realize that these pros have tens of thousands of hours on the game, so catching up with normal means will be almost impossible. So if you want to catch up, it's important to aim train or practice your aim in some kind of way consistently. But that's not the point of this video, so let's get into tip 1, which you may know, which is movement. It's mentioned a lot in guides, but outside of your arm, your movement is the thing that affects your aim the most. Let me give you a couple examples of how movement can affect your aim.
Dog.
As you can see, my movement was extremely bad for the situation I was in. In Valorant, your goal in a fight is not to stay alive as long as you can, but to kill the enemy as fast as possible. I was moving to stay alive more than I was moving to help me kill the Reyna. It's important to realize this because you want your movement to help you get the kill, not to try and stay alive long enough and pray you hit your shot. Changing this small mindset and approach to movements in your fights will allow you to be more fluid and pay attention to what keys you need to press to win a fight. Let's show an example of good movement. His movements are very simple but effective. There are small micro strafes that help him avoid shots, as well as help him line up headshots easier. Not everyone is this smooth and precise, but they still have the very basic idea of using their movement to help them win fights. If you want to replicate this, you need to learn when to shoot after you stop moving. Go into the range and turn on the practice bots. Go into the area and shoot the bots after stopping your strafe. The strafe can be however long or short you want it to be, but just make sure there's never blue lines in your shooting area. I would then recommend you to go into a deathmatch and practice simple micro strafes and full strafes when engaging an enemy. Focus on your first shot accuracy and don't rush your shots. You may die more often since it's a new technique, but over time as you get used to it, you will win more fights. But that's enough of this section. Let's move on to the second tip, which is your eyes. Well, this section isn't only about your eyes, but also focus, but your eyes have a lot to do with how you focus. Your eyes are an extremely important aspect of having good aim. Now there's a debate on whether you should look at your crosshair or your target. Now I believe Ye sums up what you should be looking at perfectly.
Particularly focus your crosshair, or since you have high headshot.
It's kind of like a soft focus, so like I'm not like hard focused on my crosshair, but like I know where my crosshair is, but I'm not like locked into it. You know, I still have like my side vision, if that makes sense. Like I still can.
Essentially, you should be aware of your crosshair's position while also using your peripheral vision to react to players appearing on your screen. But whether you choose one or the other, it's entirely your personal preference on what you feel comfortable doing. Looking at your crosshair will allow you to be far more precise and consistent with your shots since you have more knowledge of where your crosshair is. Looking at your target allows you to read the movements of them much easier than looking at your crosshair. The con is that you're relying on your raw aim mechanics to put your crosshair on the enemy head, which can be a bit inconsistent. Neither are particularly better than the other and have their place in different situations. But where you should be looking is at the head of the target. If you're looking at center mass of the body, you'll be far more inclined to aim at the body. If you look towards the head, you'll typically try and aim for the head. But what is extremely important is for you to focus on the enemy and the fight you're about to take. Focus is also not tunnel vision. You still need to be aware of what is happening around you. Focus allows you to be at the peak of your reaction time and general ability to react to situations happening. When holding or taking fights, the only thing in your mind should be on how to win the fight. There should be no other noise in your head and no other worries about winning the fight. You shouldn't be thinking of what if I die or where are my teammates during the engagement. Thoughts like this will make you hesitate and react slower to what is happening in front of you, which will cause you to lose 50-50s more often. But you may be saying, when should I worry about my decisions? Well, that is a good segue into my next tip. Preparation is tip number 3. Now what does this mean in the case of aiming in Valorant? Let's look at a clip of Ye and how he clears angles before taking in sight.
I can dash switch.
If you didn't notice, every time before he peeked an angle, he paused for a quick second just before peeking. They take this pause so their brain can properly process the situations that might happen, as well as to gather their crosshair to be ready for the engagement. You'll see a lot of players instantly swing off the noise they hear and get laid out in the process. This also helps you not get surprised when players appear on your screen that you weren't ready for. When you're surprised, your body tenses up, which if done too much will restrict your range of motion as well as precision with your mouse. If you apply this small trick to your gameplay, you'll definitely notice the difference in your calmness when people appear on your screen, unless you genuinely didn't expect someone to be where they were. For newer players, you will probably take longer to be ready to peek, since you may not have experienced all the possible off angles players can be. These Radiant players have experienced each angle thousands of times and is ingrained in their game sense, so they'll be ready far faster than, say, a Bronze player. It's okay to take your time because eventually you'll be able to speed up once your game sense has developed. Now, the last piece of advice that I want to give you is your mental and confidence. Ultimately, the most important thing to having good aim, or just being good at anything in general, is your mental and confidence. If you tilt easily, you're more likely to be more emotional and just take fights. In general, you're more likely to make mistakes, which will cause your aim to take a hit. Then there's your confidence. A lack of confidence makes you more conscious of your aim, so the entire process of aiming is now actively thought about in your head, which will be much slower than if you just trusted your aim and subconsciously did it. If you want to stop tilting so much, the best thing you can do is to start by taking just a small break off the game and do something you like. You can go eat, sleep, take a shower, something to reset your mind so you can queue up another with a clear head. Once you queue into a game, you want to not put any expectations on your teammates. Tilting comes from your competitiveness and desire to win. If you think your teammates aren't trying, you are more likely to just get irritated. If you don't put expectations on your team, then it's much easier for you not to get angry and to continue focusing on what you can do to win. Now, confidence is much more ingrained on what you do on a personal level, but the best thing you can do is find what you're not confident about and learn how to fix it. If you have bad flicks, then aim train and work on your flicks. Once you do that, when you're in a game, it may not be good off the rip, but understanding that over time it'll get better will make it much easier on the mental, since you know that you're trying to solve the problem. Do this with all your problems, and over time you won't overthink as much, and you'll be much more confident in your aim and just things you do in general. These were 4 reasons why your aim may not be improving. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and sub, and I'll be back soon with a new video.